Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode about what to do when your team tells you that they won't do something. So, if you haven't guessed yet, a lot of what we talk about here on the Ask Gabe Reporter Show and on the Infinite Franchisee podcast are things that come up between in conversation. They come up in conversation between us and our franchisee clients. And when they come up, and it gives me a peek into some issues that are occurring, usually because of the owner's limiting beliefs or their own insecurities. A lot of it is about headspace, a lot of it is emotional and psychological. And so when these conversations come up, when these issues come up, that's when I take that information and say, you know what, if this franchisee is dealing with this and struggling with it, it's probably great information for all franchisees and small business owners out there. And if it's not new information, then maybe it's told in a new way and it will help you overall. But this came about through a conversation we were having about how to conduct team meetings and really how to make them not only productive in the sense of you're not wasting your time for that hour, half hour, however long the meeting is. But the whole purpose of team meetings is to get everyone driving towards the same goal and to make those expectations very clear and to help people become self accountable to meeting those expectations. And that's really the purpose of your team meetings. And when we were talking about the agenda for a team meeting and the strategic way in order to do this, to drive your team to meet your growth goals, one of our franchisees says, well, but my team won't do that. If I require my team to attend a weekly meeting, or if I require my team to watch the replay of a meeting, my team members will quit. They will quit. And that is a big old red flag, because what story are you telling yourself if you're saying, like, I can't run my business and run my organization efficiently. I can't hold people to expectations. I can't create self accountability in my employees, because if I do those things, they will all quit and I won't have any employees and therefore I won't have a business. Take a moment and think, do you think any successful organization that you admire runs their company in fear of their employees quitting? Should they hold them to expectations? When we say it out loud and we have the discussion out loud, it's so obvious. It's like, of course not. I mean, why do you have employees if you cannot hold them to certain expectations? That is called the job description. And if people aren't performing according to the job description, what do? You have to fire them, right? Now, I'm not suggesting, and I didn't suggest that this franchisee go out and fire all of their employees. Instead, we need to dive into, one, is that even true? Is it true that all of your employees would quit if you implemented a weekly meeting and you required them to either attend or watch a replay of the meeting and give you feedback from the things that were in the meeting? Number one, is it even true? If it's not true, then you need to stop telling yourself that story as a franchisee, because it's inhibiting you from being able to draw a hard line in the sand. And that many times is the problem in and of itself, is that once we become business owners, we don't want to be mean, quote. We don't want to be bad bosses. We want to be amazing bosses. We want to have a family-like atmosphere. We want everyone to be happy. And so there's a fear that many owners adopt, which is, if I assert myself, if I hold them to an expectation, if I say you are required to attend this meeting and then they don't, what am I going to do? I mean, how would I, what consequence would there be for them? I don't have any consequences. If I give them a consequence, they're going to be mad at me. If I don't give them a consequence, what's going to happen to the rest of your team, right? They're going to be mad because they had to attend the meeting and this person didn't. So the whole thing makes me uncomfortable. I don't know how to navigate it and still have a family-like atmosphere where everybody's enjoying each other's company and getting along. So I'm just going to avoid it and not have the meeting. And and then I adopt the belief that if I would have the meeting, people would quit. Okay. So that's the first thing we have to examine. Is that what is happening? And it probably is a little bit of what's happening. Is it true that your employees will quit? Probably not. Probably not if you assert yourself and you do it in a kind and empathetic way. But let's say it is true. Let's say it is true that you have somebody who says, I ain't coming to a weekly meeting, and if you make me, then I'll quit. That person is not supposed to be part of your program. That person should not be part of your organization. I'm sorry to tell you, but if that person, if your employee is dictating how you run your organization, they are not supporting you as an employee. They are not a team player. They are not someone who is ready to latch onto your vision, to adopt your core values, and to drive towards your mission. And if they aren't that person, why do you want them on your team? Obviously, the answer most of you might be thinking is like, because I need a body. I can't afford to lose a team member. There are so many things worse than being short staffed. And when you wrap your head around the fact that you don't need that person and you open yourself to becoming the business owner you're meant to be, which is one that does not tolerate toxic people in your business, and you do not tolerate people who are just there for a paycheck, and you do not tolerate mediocrity when it comes to fulfilling your purpose and your mission in life. When you step into becoming that business owner, then you're not going to be short staffed because you're going to be attracting employees that are ready to do more than catch a paycheck. You're going to be attracting employees that want to be part of something bigger than themselves and that want to drive towards a mission that and help other people during their time here on earth, because that's really why we all work as hard as we do. Most of us are not just working for a paycheck. Most of us are working to make an impact, to make a difference in the world. And when you give people that opportunity, and when you open yourself to saying, those are the people that I want on my team, then those are the people that are going to show up to be on your team. So if you find that you are allowing your employees to dictate the way your company is run, then you need to take a step back and you need to assert yourself as the owner. Now, asserting yourself as the owner does not mean you're going to criticize or call somebody out or humiliate anyone or punish them. That's not what I mean when I say assertive. What I mean is creating boundaries, creating structure in your business that you adhere to, creating policies that that you don't budge on. You don't make exceptions to the policies. And that the policies have really clear consequences that everyone's informed about. So if they choose to deviate from the policy, they are making a choice knowing of the consequence that comes with that choice. That's how you become an assertive business owner. And guess what? It doesn't have to equate to an unpleasant working environment. It doesn't have to equate to losing that family atmosphere that you love so much. Think about it in terms like this. And typically, I really do not like analogies for business that compare a business owner to a parent and the employees to a child. I think it's disrespectful, because a boss is not a parent and an employee should not be treated like a child. I'm going to make an exception for this analogy because it's not really comparing employees to children, but more so it's the human nature. Okay, so let's think back to when we were kids, or what you see in kids now. So many of you are parents, and you can see this in your children. And children buck up against structure sometimes. I don't want to take a nap. I'm not tired. And so you see this happen, and so there's an argument to be made like, oh, well, they're going to be, they don't want to. They're going to throw a fit if I make them take a nap, right? But then when you do it consistently over time, you see that your child thrives with structure. If your child understands what the routine is in the morning, we get up, we get dressed, we brush our teeth, we eat breakfast, we get out the door and to school on time, and they can rely on that routine and they can rely on that structure, excuse me, when they can rely on the structure, they can be more successful. Think about what happens when we don't have a routine for something. What a child gets is a dozen questions. Did you do this? Did you clean your room yet? No, I didn't. Again, did you clean your room yet? No, I didn't get it done. Did you clean your room yet? Well, I made my bed. Okay, is your room clean? No, but I made my bed, right? And it becomes a progressive argument. If the expectation is every Thursday afternoon, you come home from school, you clean your room, and then you get to do XYZ. You get to go to soccer practice or something like that, but your room has to be cleaned first. And then we go, and if your room isn't clean, we're going to have to miss practice or we'll be late because your room isn't clean, right? So when there's a very clear boundary and structure, kids thrive. It's not just kids, it's just that when we're kids, that's when we learn this concept. That's when it's easily comparable, the child who has structure and boundaries versus the child who doesn't. So that's why I'm referring back to the kid analogy, but it goes with us and it travels with us through the rest of our lives. So that structure, when we go into a workplace that has zero structure, we may be people who thrive in structure, maybe so much so that we can create our own structure in that workplace. But if we're not one of those people, if we're not wired to create our own structure, but we will thrive in it and it doesn't exist, then it's going to be chaos as long as it doesn't exist. That is your role as the business owner. Your role is to step in and to create the structure. Your role is to be a leader that sets the boundaries, that helps people become self-accountable. And through self-accountability, they can develop into their true potential. Without those things, they are going to stay right where they are at. And when they have to stay right where they are at and they're not progressing, ultimately they will leave. So this is a self-perpetuating cycle that many times business owners are taking all these actions to try to prevent people from leaving. Not only have I heard of it in regard to the team meetings, but many times this shows up in scheduling, where a business owner, when we first start working with them, they will say, well, I can't get anyone to work on Saturday. Well, do you have a policy in place when you hire that everyone has to work at least 2 Saturdays out of the month? I had 3 people ask off, and now I have to cover the store myself because I have 3 people who want the day off. And if I don't give them the day off, they'll quit. Well, did you have the structure in place, the policy in place that says the first 2 people to ask off, can receive the day off, but will never have more than 2 people off in a day? And so you have to get your request in. And if you don't, then you have to get coverage or you'll be expected to work. And if you call off on a day where there's already 2 people off, what is the consequence for that? Right? Do you have that laid out? If you have that laid out, then they're not likely to quit. And you don't have to fear that they will quit because you can refer them to the policy. So creating that structure creates more predictability, not just for you, but for your employees as well. And it gets you closer to swag. Because if you are always beholden to your employees' schedules and their whims as to when they want to work and when they don't want to work, then you are really more of an employee than them. They're scheduling you to work in the store. And that's not how it's supposed to be. You've taken on all the risk. You have made the investment. You have created jobs so that you can help people become more productive citizens and fulfill their own missions and their own values and their own dreams. And so therefore, you get to set the schedule, but you have to be the one to assert that by creating structure and boundaries in your business. So don't be afraid your team will quit. First of all, check yourself. Is it even true? If it is true, then rather than fear it, take action, remove the people from your employment that would quit over structure and boundaries. And when you put those things in place, you're going to attract more people who thrive in it. When you have it and you have people who thrive in it, that's when your business is going to soar. Okay. So I'd love to hear from you, and in the comments, tell us, do you have structure in your business? Where's the structure lacking in your business right now? And what are three things or policies you could put in place that would help communicate better to your team the expectations of working for your company, so that you can help them become self-accountable and help everyone achieve their goals and their dreams. All right. And then we'll talk to you again next week. Have a great one.